display of support for each other that I'm seeing in the room. We have several schedules today that we are trying to balance. So we are going to move on to House File 4748. Representative Bahner, if you would please, this bill will be laid over. That is our intention. So if you'd please describe the bill and,
Yes.
go ahead.
And first, thank you. I want to say thank you to Chair Pinto for allowing us to switch it up just a little bit and accommodate. Last year, we made a series of updates to the Minnesota Enabling Statute, Chapter 16E, which was first enacted in the 90s. It represented the technology perspectives of that time and contained a significant number of provisions that predate the minute consolidation of 2011. Last year's work removed or updated outdated references and terms, clarified responsibilities to better align with the mission of Minute, and reorganized it for clarity. In essence, we cleaned up and modernized the statute to align with the current roles, process, best practice, and current expectations. This bill continues that modernization effort and remedies some of the technology concepts that don't align with the way Minute collaborates with our business partners to deliver digital services. It removes outdated sections of statute that predate the Minute consolidation that no longer apply, which create conflicts in existing law and current business practice. I will provide a brief high-level summary of the key concept of project versus initiative to provide clarity for members, as all of the other changes sort of flow from that central concept. So first, Minute's current statute contains about 80 mentions of the word project and resulting authority that requirements, that relate to how Minute works with state agency partners to ensure the delivery of digital services. While instrumental in today's technology industry, the term project carries a very specific and in some cases a little bit outdated view of working to deliver new functionality, systems, and technology fixes. As many of you know, I have been an evangelist pushing our agency partners to adopt more efficient, agile, people-centered design to create better results, faster, and more cost-effectively. These changes also better align process and funding mechanisms. Minute, our business partners, and the Technology Advisory Council are laser-focused on successful delivery of IT projects, including more modern ways of working. In fact, we have won several awards for some of our work in this field. Minnesota is leading. The bill here today specifically takes a long-term view of maintaining critical assets rather than one-time project-based view, which doesn't accurately reflect the reality of modern IT systems. The bill replaces outdated terms with initiatives where requirements related to the project appear and support this more modern service delivery model while keeping the spirit of the existing policies in place. I appreciate that for many of my colleagues, this gets a little bit down into the weeds on how we deliver IT services for the modern era. And with the exception of Lead Nash, probably a bit of a snooze fest for some of us in this room. But rest assured, the changes will benefit our agencies and Minnesotans. First of all, I also want to mention that this bill has the support of Minute and the Governor's Technical Advisory Council on IT, a public-private partnership, which includes myself, Lead Nash, and Representative Elkins in the House, Senators Wicklund, Curran, Zhang, and Lucero in the Senate, giving this bill a bit of a bipartisan support in both chambers. And with that, I would ask you to support House File 4748. And with that, I do have here today Brandon from the Minute Services to help answer any in-depth questions on the specifics of the bill.
Thank you. Are there any questions, member questions?
Madam Chair, I'll just say that this is a bipartisan effort. It is supported by all members, and we can probably just move on since we don't really need to ask a ton of questions.
Okay. Any other questions from our side of the table?
Yeah.
All right. Seeing none, I will just thank you for presenting the bill. Any closing remarks? And then we'll lay the bill over.
Please support the bill.
All right. Thank you so much. And that bill is laid over. Next, we will go to House File 4749. And I understand you have an A1 amendment. And it is our intention to amend the bill and then to lay it over.
Yes, that is my intent, Madam Chair.
Okay, so if you'd please tell us about the amendment, and we'll adopt that, and then we will listen to the bill as amended.
Perfect. First off, the amendment is pretty standard. It changes, or pretty simple. It switches the central reporting to minute in coordination with the BCA, and makes sure that they have the responsibility for the report falls to minute. That's it.
Okay, that's the amendment. Okay, is there any discussion to the A1 amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of the A1, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion prevails and the A1 is amended, or is adopted. Now to House File 4749 as amended.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. On this one, with persistent and evolving cyber attacks increasingly targeting political subdivisions in the county, city, or municipal level, along with schools and universities, Minnesota would benefit from an improved information sharing. We know bad actors are actively looking for easier targets that may have less budget, less resources, or less technical expertise to fend off these ever-flowing attacks. While partners like Minute and the BCA have much greater resources and strong federal partnerships to address these potential threats, our local folks may not. From this knowledge, the concept of a more centralized way to share more relevant, timely information on potential threats with our partners in the county, city, and local school district level have emerged. Currently, a federal cybersecurity partner, CISA, share information with the state, who then in turn distributes this information to the local political subdivisions. These threat alerts are helpful, but they sometimes lack information about potential or active attacks at the local level. By reporting current or attempted attacks to the state, Minute will be able to share information about threat vectors with others who may be impacted. Note that the intention here is deliberate. The intent is to only share what is being attacked and how, not who. By doing so, we encourage participation in this system, and we tailor the information necessary to address relevant threats without compromising the security of the reporting parties further. To prove out this model, each year, Minute will compile data on the attacks to share with the Legislative Commission on Cybersecurity, of which I happen to be the chair at present, and share that with the state, the legislature, and the political subdivisions to have better data and be better informed about what types of resources are needed to best position the state to protect Minnesotans. In short, it helps us make informed, targeted investments in cybersecurity for our future. This bill basically creates a tool to share basic information about attacks and potential attacks to partners in the network and allows them to take preventative measures to share useful information and feedback and overall strengthen our organizational capacity in a very real way. As AI continues to emerge, hacking tools become more readily available to novice hackers, and the technology landscape continues to evolve. I'm certain Representative Nash could tell us more about that. But as that happens, we must be prepared to protect our security and the personal data of our citizens. States like Minnesota can lead the way on piloting programs to expand the base of knowledge around cybersecurity threats and be leaders on getting ahead of potential cybersecurity incidents before they cause the harm to infrastructure or personal data. Minnesotans expect us to take a proactive approach to our technology assets and our most valuable assets, Minnesotans themselves. I ask for your support of House File 4749 as amended. I do have John Israel, our CISO over at Minute, here to speak to the bill.
All right, I have on our list two testifiers for today, John Israel and Anthony Padron So if you would please state your name for the record and begin your testimony, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is John Israel. I'm an Assistant Commissioner and also for Minnesota IT Services and also the Chief Information Security Officer for the state, working directly with a lot of organizations and entities throughout statewide on cybersecurity issues as well, just as part of our responsibility to kind of help organizations. This bill, I believe, furthers the steps and actions that Minute has taken over the last several years to build relationships with local governments and build out the capacity to share threat information quickly and in a timely manner. We have, as Representative Bahner spoke, we have great relationships with our federal partners at CISA, national organizations like the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center that share national information. But as we continue to see, getting information closer to local entities, getting information quicker, and being able to share those threat indicators as an early warning system will help organizations that are under attack and help prevent additional cyber attacks. Very often we see cyber attackers use the same methods. They find the same vulnerabilities, and very often software applications, vulnerabilities and things are regional as well with common tools. So being able to build those relationships and formalize that through our relationship with the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension and information that we are sharing today through our cybersecurity partnership that Minute provides through the Fusion Center and others out to local governments. Building on that capacity is kind of critical to preventing these threats. Additionally, we're looking forward to the opportunity to be able to share aggregate information with the legislature and others to be able to help paint the picture of what the cybersecurity landscape and what that threat looks like as these threats continue to evolve from year to year.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your testimony, and we greatly appreciate the work you do for our state. So thank you. Next, we will have Anthony. I'm going to ask you to pronounce your last name for me because I know I've botched it twice now.
It's always easier to say than to read.
Thank you. All right, if you'll state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
Good morning, Chair Klevorn and esteemed committee members. I'm Anthony Paternis, the Executive Director of Technology for Osseo Area Schools. Today I'm here representing not only Osseo Area Schools, but also the Minnesota Association of School Administrators and the collective body of Minnesota K-12 technology leaders advocating in favor of House File 4749. The landscape of Minnesota's public education system is vast and intricate, serving over 870,000 students and employing over 126,000 individuals, each with digital records. These numbers reflect a significant portion of the state's population, highlighting the vast amount of digital information within public schools to ensure education services. However, behind these statistics lies a complex web of 331 public school districts, each with its unique challenges and resources. Whether overseeing a district with thousands of students or a smaller one with hundreds, the commitment to ensuring the security of digital resources and information remains unwavering. Yet it's essential to acknowledge the glaring discrepancies in available resources from districts with minimal staff to those like Osseo Area Schools with more extensive teams dedicated to digital technology security. The escalating threat of cyber events in K-12 schools cannot be ignored. 44% of educational institutions have been targeted by ransomware. Costing millions to rectify successful attacks, the aftermath of such attacks extends far beyond financial implications, disrupting vital services and impeding educational processes, and underscores the urgency of bolstering our cybersecurity measures. Having previously testified before the Legislative Commission on Cybersecurity, I emphasized three critical areas requiring attention: the need for statewide K-12 technology leadership, adequate human and financial resources, and coordinated, timely communication. Our interconnectedness means that when one district faces a threat, others in the vicinity are often targeted as well. Last year's incidents in Minnesota and Iowa exemplify this reality, where swift action was imperative to safeguard our institutions. The situation in Minnesota left many K-12 technology leaders scrambling due to a lack of information. House File 4749 represents a pivotal step towards establishing a unified front against cyber threats. By fostering partnerships between K-12 entities and other public sector stakeholders, this bill facilitates the dissemination of real-time threat information and a deeper understanding of our threat landscape, empowering technology leaders to proactively mitigate risks. I commend MNIT and the bill's authors for their collaboration with K-12 technology leaders in crafting a solution aligned to our needs, and I encourage continued partnership should it pass, as any concerns with the legislation lies in the implementation and not the bill itself. In closing, I urge your support of House File 4749, recognizing its potential to enhance the cybersecurity resilience of our public schools and safeguard the future of Minnesota's education system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as a representative for the Osseo Schools District as well, I will say to you, I hear you in the K-12 infrastructure, human support, and timely communication. Thank you. Lead Nash, did you want to start?
Yeah, thank you, Madam
with your
Chair. And I will apologize to Representative Bahner. I had intended to add on to 4749. I'm doing that as we speak. Members, this is a good bill. Much like when you have a stroke or a heart attack, time matters, and it's very, very important. Commissioner Israel will tell you that if you're able to share information quickly with fellow colleagues as to what's going on in a cyber attack, they can take steps. And as was stated, sometimes it's a piece of software that is adopted by a large number of people across the state that people are, I'll just say it, lazy. They don't patch necessarily, or there may not be a patch that's available. Cyber attackers know these things. They use it to great effect. They start off with the juiciest target and work their way down. So being able to share this information quickly and disseminate it quickly matters very, very much. So I think this is a good bill. Madam Chair, what is the reference? What are we?
As amended, it is being laid over. And I also saw that Representative Nadeau had a
Okay.
question.
Well, I would hope that we find a way to get this into a policy bill as with the previous, because both of them are important. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Nadeau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just quickly, and thank you, Representative Bahner, was this bill, so basically subdivision 2, 3.7 to 3.13, was this bill specifically crafted to focus on schools? And the reason that I'm asking, there's a lot of other partners that have cybersecurity issues, and a lot of the times the data is the same. I mean, it's a lot of the same populations that are in a lot of different data sets. And counties, for example, direct service providers that provide health and human services, case management, are they part of this, or was this bill specifically crafted, really to focus on post-secondary?
And thank you. Representative Bonner, I'm going to ask you to keep your answer very short, but I also would like to bring to the attention of the committee the County Association letter of support in the file, too. All right, Representative Bonner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, it is not specifically to you, although I will say that I'm very proud that my school district actually was a leader in helping us form and craft this legislation. But no, I think what we acknowledge is that the state has a great deal of expertise and knowledge in these areas, as well as the BCA. But we don't see that same level on the county level, the city level, those municipalities, our school districts or universities. And so this was really to try to find a way to disseminate information across all of those more local entities and give them better real-time information to thwart potential attacks or to address vulnerabilities within their own systems. Certainly, Mr. Israel may be able to speak more to that.
Just one follow-up, Madam Chair. And this is super quick, and it's to Mr. Israel. So in the language, it says shall report within 72 hours. Is that pretty common across the board? I mean, so for example, if I have a direct service provider that has a cyber attack, I mean, is that something that counties will need to contractually obligate people that have access to private data within their contracts? Will they need to comply with this 72-hour requirement?
Assistant Commissioner Israel.
Madam Chair and Representative Nadeau, thank you for the question. The intent here is not, there is no penalty for reporting. So kind of the intent here is to gather that early information as quickly as possible. To answer your question more specifically, 72 hours is a balancing act, really, to give time for entities to gather the information needed. Obviously, the quicker that an incident is reported, the better. So some compliance requirements, depending on what industry you are in and who is regulating that, may have a reporting requirement of 24 hours. For example, anything impacting a law enforcement agency, CJIS requirements that FBI puts out requires reporting within 24 hours. So the intent here is to accept those reports as quickly as an entity is able to make them, make that the relevant details and indicators shared out to other organizations. But there is no, it's more of a, there is no stick that follows that.
Thank you very much. And with that, we are going to lay over House File 4749 as amended. Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, I would like to ask Chair Pinto to come forward. 49, House File 4959, which we are going to, I will make the motion to re-refer House File 4959 to the Public Safety Committee. I understand you have an A3 amendment.
Yes, Madam Chair, I do. And it's just, yes, Madam Chair, I do have that amendment.
Okay.
Sorry.
When you're ready.
Catching up, yep.
No, you've been so patiently waiting.
No,
I
no
appreciate you.
problem. And Madam Chair, regarding that amendment, it's just an adjustment to the task force membership, as I recall. I'm bringing it up here in response to a request. And so I'd ask that the members adopt that.
Thank you. And as it is the custom to get the bill in the order of the author's preference, all those in favor for the adoption of the A3, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion prevails and the A3 is adopted to House File 4959 as amended.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members. Members, last session, we enacted and appropriated funds for a report regarding effective approaches to the use of illicit drugs. This is in recognition of the harms and the ineffectiveness that our current approach has had, recognizing that despite enormous funds going to combat the use of drugs, we know that we have unprecedented continued spikes in drug overdoses. We have the harms of criminalization of people's lives. We know that there continue to be the harms from drug use, and this is despite the approach we've taken for a number of decades. And so we commissioned this report. We've received a preliminary report. We'll receive a final one next year to look at what are the best practices all around the country and around the world relating to the use of illicit substances. House File 4959, as amended, is intended to be a companion to that, to say, well, we're getting these reports about what the research says, and we want to listen to that. But then there's the question of how we start converting what the research says into action. This is a very complicated issue having to do with chemical dependency treatment and mental health, obviously addiction and public safety, a number of issues. So this bill would establish a task force on holistic and effective responses to illicit drug use. I would hope we would want effective responses to such use, and to do so in a holistic way. So the bill establishes this task force, membership duties, et cetera. The bill came out of the Public Safety Committee, but then as we looked at it, we realized that the best place to house this work within state government is with the Office of Addiction and Recovery. I think that I'm using that correct term, which is within MMB, and that's what's caused the bill to have gotten amended to do that in public safety and be sent to this committee. I want to stress that the funds for the bill, if in fact it advances, would come out of the public safety budget as opposed to the budget of this committee. But because of where the task force is housed and this committee's expertise, we want to make sure to send it to you all. I have folks to answer questions, Madam Chair. I don't believe that folks had signed up on my behalf to testify for the bill, but simply to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Pinto. And so, members, we're looking at lines 3.21 and 3.22 in the bill. Are there any member questions? I see no member.
That's the only thing we're looking at?
Well, that's why it's about where it's housed. The work is actually through the work of the public safety. But if you do have a question, I would be somewhat lenient.
No, I don't. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Representative Nadeau. Representative Koznick.
I did, Madam Chair, and just more in general, I kind of appreciate the bill, and with some leniency. I just, we're being on a task force, actually, the last interim, with the chair, just had some concerns about task force. I think what we're trying to accomplish here, or what I understand your intent to be, I would support. I had a question of, sometimes my point of being is that sometimes task force gets set out with a predetermined outcome sometimes. And that would be sometimes concerning to me. You don't have any legislators on the membership of the task force. Not that the legislators have any of the answers or at all, but we are responsible for analyzing the report at the end of the task force. And so I think it's helpful to have legislators there that will work on the policy area back in the legislature. If you want to talk about that, and just more in general, is one of the policies that has been used in other areas is safe use zones, that probably a more popular term, I don't know, where it's safe to shoot up and whatever, and then they have nurses there or whatever. That's something that I would oppose. I don't think it's worked very well in other areas. On line 3.1, it talks about preventing harms to users. Is that one of the possible solutions or something that you think might be recommended to the legislature?
Chair
So
Pinto.
those two things, legislators and then that, if you don't
All right.
mind.
Thank you, Representative Koznick. Chair Pinto.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks, Representative Koznick. So to the point about legislators, yeah, in my experience with task forces, yeah, it really can cut both ways, right? Because I've certainly been aware of task forces, I think even before I was in the legislature, where there's legislators named, they don't necessarily show up. If they do, but it just really varies. And on the other hand, we know that sometimes legislators, that has been my experience, right? In some cases, other times, of course, very actively involved. And I could imagine we could think of it in different ways. There are certainly advantages sometimes in having legislators be on there in terms of having the confidence the recommendations are much more likely to be enacted. I think this is probably something to continue to discuss as to whether they be on there. I think, part of what we want to do here is to have the folks with the policy expertise really be working together. And we know that in the end, it's the legislature that gets to decide whether these proposals get enacted, which kind of connects to your second point as well, right? That you may individually, and it may be the legislature as a whole, says, hey, a particular recommendation, if there is a recommendation that comes out relating to sites where folks can reduce harm and potentially where they would use narcotics, then we may say that's not something we want to pursue. We get the final word as legislators. So that's why, for me, in general, task forces, if there aren't legislators on there, I'm not so concerned, because I know that in the end, we get the final say as to whether something happens, because there's no power for this task force beyond simply making recommendations to us. So then that leads to that second point. And I mean, we certainly, at line 3.1, we certainly want to prevent harm to users of illicit drugs. I would hope everybody would agree on that. And then the question is, what is the best way to do that? We've had an approach that has said the best way to prevent those folks from being harmed is to criminalize them in general and charge them with crimes. I think there's pretty good research that safe injection sites can be helpful, but I also know that there certainly can be reasons to think that that may not be the case. I will say, I individually, as a prosecutor, I don't have particular expertise on this, and the reason I wanted to push this last year was to say, what we're doing is not working, and I want to get the best research to say what does work. So it may be that may be a proposal that comes out of this, may be various things. We will then get to decide whether we adopt them or not. Long answer, but thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair Pinto, and I appreciate the curious and open mind that you have. So,
Madam Chair, I appreciate
Representative Koznick.
I appreciate the discussion and the honest answer. If there's an openness to shoot up sites, I cannot support this.
Thank you very much. Seeing no further discussion, Lead Nash, did you want to say anything? Okay, then we will, the motion before us is to re-refer House File 4959 as amended to the Public Safety Committee. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
The motion prevails, and House File 4959 as amended is re-referred to the Public Safety Committee. Thank you, Chair Pinto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, members.
Next, we have Chair Freiberg. And we will have House File 4972 before the committee. It is our intention to lay this over. Is that correct?
Yes.
Chair Freiberg? All right. And with that, if you would please describe the bill to us.
Sure. This is a technical bill related to notaries and their registration with the Secretary of State's Business Services Division. Specifically, it aligns the process for holding additional authorizations that Minnesota notaries can seek to perform their duties electronic notarization, and remote online notarization. It aligns these processes by removing additional paperwork that a notary who holds an electronic notarization authorization is currently required to file each time they renew their commission. The bill also clarifies that a valid notarial stamp is not deficient because an element on the stamp has changed after the stamp was issued. As the letter from the National Notary Association in your packet states, this clarity is very important to ensure a valid notary stamp is not called into question. That's just the summary of the bill. I know the Secretary of State's office is here if there are any technical questions, but I don't think we have anyone signed up to testify on the bill.
No, I don't have anyone signed up to testify. Members, questions? Seeing no questions, we are happy to lay over, I'm just like, where did the number go? 4972 for possible inclusion in the state government finance and policy bill. Your bill is laid over. Okay. All right, I think I have the last two bills, which are also small and technical in nature. I don't know. There you are. All right.
Chair Klevorn, would you like to move your bill?
Thank you. I'll start with House File 4798, which is a state government reporting requirement is repealed. And I have Eric Anderson from MMB with me to explain why they would like to have this repealed.
Mr. Anderson, state your name and your title.
Thank you, Chair and members. I'm Eric Anderson, Director of Government Relations at Minnesota Management and Budget. This MMB agency bill proposes to repeal an obsolete report on the amount of federal revenue, if any, that the federal government may withhold as a result of a potential state action to discontinue implementation of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. This report originated under previous federal education law, No Child Left Behind, at a time when state statute directed MDE to seek certain waivers of federal requirements and contemplated an opt-out of federal funding if those waivers were not obtained. But the relevant federal laws has since been replaced by the Every Student Succeeds Act, and Minnesota has an approved state plan since 2018, and state statute has since been updated to no longer contemplate a federal opt-out. So don't feel like the report is relevant anymore, and appreciate your support in removing it from statute.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Are there any other testifiers in the room? Seeing none, we move on to member discussion. Anyone would like to discuss the bill? Seeing none, we will move to lay over the bill 4798 for possible inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then the next bill we have before us is 4815. And I have with me Mr. Anderson to please discuss the need for this bill as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Anderson, once again, state your name and your title for the record.
Thank you. Still Eric Anderson, Government Relations Director at Minnesota Management and Budget. And again, another simple agency bill here to push back the due date for the uncollectible debt report from October 31st to November 30. We've had the opportunity to complete 5 of these, and the team that works on them would request a little bit more time to get the information together and ensure thorough vetting of what we're submitting to the legislature.
Once again, this is a public hearing. He's not up yet. Once again, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the room that wishes to speak? Seeing none, to member discussion. I believe Representative Koznick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chair Klevorn, thank you for bringing both of these bills together. It seems to have some support with it. Since there's no opposition, you could have just combined these two, and it wouldn't be log rolling.
Thank you very much for that clarification, but as I explained yesterday in the meeting, I had no idea what log rolling was, and it's not a practice that I intend to take up. Thank you.
Oh, glad. I appreciate that.
Representative, all right, here we go. So seeing no other discussion,
Oh,
sorry, Representative Harder. I didn't mean to miss you.
I'll just start talking. Thank you, Chair Hebert. I just have a question on the information that's obtained here that we're writing off as uncollected. Is that public knowledge? I mean, can the public know what's being written off, or what's the process with those uncollected debts?
I'll defer to MMB.
Oh, Mr. Anderson, sounds like you have.
Sure, would note that the required report, or thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative, I would note the required report and statute is a summary. The agencies provide on a quarterly basis the uncollectible debts to MMB, and then the summary goes into this report.
And it is public.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Chair, Representative Harder, anything else?
Oh, thank you.
All right, seeing no other discussion, the chair lays over House File 4815 for possible inclusion. And that concludes our meeting today. We are adjourned until, it's not on my cheat sheet. Looks like Tuesday, the 9th, for our normal meeting time.
Thank you, everyone.